Welcome to the Feel Better, Be Better show. Today, Kate and Nevada will answer your questions and introduce new topics designed to help feel better and be better. These are raw conversations, but they will make a difference.
All right, welcome everybody. I just wanted to come in here and get Kate and me on here talking about our show, talking about everything that we're going to do, just going through some of the reasons why we decided to sit down and tell people about all the things that we are trying to put out, trying to learn, trying to go through, trying to get everything. I mean, how many times have you had people ask you what we do at KNeticx?
A lot, because it's really complicated and there's a lot of facets to it. So it's hard to communicate everything that we're involved with to everybody out in the public.
Yeah, so it's exactly the right time that we're going to pop in here. We both have questions for each other. We're going to go back and forth, try and hit the high points. Now, for the rest of the times, we're going to come back. We're going to have way more in-depth topics or in-depth conversations on topics that we know people are listening to or wanting to hear about. One of these days, I'll get the wording right. It's not my specialty. So, do you want to go first, or would you like me to go first?
You can start us off.
Sure, ladies first. All right. So, I'm going to ask you about the store a little bit. I want to understand why you pick the products that you do for the store and anything that goes into what you're looking for.
Well, for a general sense, I look for products that are on the healthier end of the spectrum. Now, some of the stuff we don't have in here might not be classically healthy, but you know, a lot of products are stuff people use, and finding local products or things that are sourced with a little bit better ingredients allows people to use some similar ingredients that they would and that they're used to that are a lot better for them. Mm-hmm. For example, we have Matt and Michelle's beef from Holy Cow, and it's grass-fed and finished, and so you've got a lot more of the omega-3s for your body, so those especially who are dealing with inflammation, really good for them. But then at the other end of the scale, you know, I mean, we have salsa and we have jams and we have mustard, and those might not be traditionally healthy on the scale of things that are healthy, but the fact that they're made here, they have a whole lot less preservatives in them, locally sourced fruit, so you're going to have stuff that's a little bit better as far as being picked when it's ripe, stuff like that.
Well, I mean, I think about it all the time when people ask me about some of the healthier meals that we do and everything and products that we go through, and it's always ground beef, and people are like, well, that's not very healthy. And it's like, well, you're not wrong, but at the same side, I'm getting the best scenario I can to be able to have meals for me, which I like eating ground beef because it tastes good. So if I can at least make that as healthy as I possibly can, that's what I'm looking to do.
Yeah.
And as far as like the jellies and mustards and stuff like that, even if you're a healthy person, I'm sorry, you still like sweets. You still like donuts. I mean, those are things that you still want in your body. You still crave those. So at least get them to where they're made right locally and they don't have all the added, whatever else.
And honestly, health is really about being in a place of moderation. So while, you might not want to have sweets all the time in your diet and cut some of them out and maybe like the donut part of it, it's not unreasonable to be like, well, I still want a little bit of sweet sometime, like, have biscuits with jelly on them or whatever for family breakfast. So I think a lot of people try to make it, you have to be one side or the other, and there's a whole spectrum in the middle where it can be really healthy still.
I just hope we find somebody that makes like ketchup locally, because I mean, you'll eat enough of it just to be able to make it profitable for me to be able to hire another person. It'd be great.
Yeah, here I go with picking mustard, which I'm not a fan of at all.
It's awesome. All right,
so for you, I guess kind of with the store was kind of a lot. You kind of brought it to me when we first kind of started, and so I guess what was your vision with as far as like what you wanted it to look like?
Want it to look like? Well, I mean, that's going to change all the time. I mean, so I kind of know it's going to be a change on a constant basis. But I think the big thing for me is I always know people that are doing very interesting things. I mean, the biggest one would be Matt and Michelle and their products. I mean, there's Michelle, Matt trying to do, a premium grass-fed beef and steak and all that kind of stuff, and just helping them get their distribution out. I mean, I have felt so much better on their meat. It doesn't cost near as much. I mean, it doesn't cost that amount more. I mean, it's not insane more money like people act like it is. And all they need is they just need more, quantities of scale for them. So, I mean, they need more sales. I like their product. I believe in it. Let's do that. So, I mean, same thing with Bell and Buddy. Same thing with Yet. Same thing with Titays and all the other things that we do here. Those people are doing quality businesses around town, and I'm doing what I can to help and support them and to promote local areas. And as far as what the store needs to look like, I totally look every time, like we talked about today, of it being a whole body scenario. I mean, we're athletically minded, and that's what we think should happen. So what can we do to make that the best possible body and mind and spirit and everything that's involved in that into one setting? What do we need for that? And whatever we need to do that, what can I do to bring it in, to make it available, and to help people out?
Yeah. Well, and I like how you bring up with the vendors too, because we started with, one or two that we knew, but it's really interesting how that grows. And when you're in that community, that we've met some really great people and some people that we don't mesh with necessarily as well or believe in their product necessarily as much, and that's okay. But just the fact, like, you find these really great families that are doing really good things that they believe in, and it might not be our niche, but you can still really believe in their product and want to help each other out. So it's been really cool to make those relationships, because I feel like I've met a lot of people, and I'm not really a people person. So.
Yes. My not people person now is basically having all the friends, all the connections, all the things that she's got, all these people she's going to lunch with and making calls with and following up with. It's hilarious.
Miss Popular now.
The non-people person doing that. All right. So we kind of left off a little bit of some of the things relating to the products that we have relating to our meal prep, which you could easily argue was also a big driver. So the meal prep, having all the supplies that we like to do for meal prep available at the store. Now, we know we're never going to be able to do vegetables and that kind of stuff because it's just not available year-round in a local market.
Yeah.
But leading into meal prep, tell me how you kind of look at the meal prep stuff. How do you search for the recipes? How do you find out? What's your process that you go through to get them to be on our website? All the different stages that you do.
Yeah, so first off is really just scouring books and the internet for recipes that, one, look like something you and I would like, which can be difficult at times because sometimes we like different things, so trying to find something that both of us can kind of compromise on. I mean, you kind of like everything, so I guess I shouldn't say that. But
I was waiting to say something of like, really?
Yeah. So finding something, first off, I think is going to have a lot of flavor and taste good is a big one. And then for me, I am not very great at just following a traditional recipe without modifying it whatsoever. So I look at, what can I bring in to modify it here or there, or make it a little bit healthier, or make it a little bit more how I want it to be or what I think other people might like. So that's how I kind of pick recipes, and we kind of try to go for a variety. I mean, we've done ground beef, we've done chicken, shrimp, salmon, pork, steak. I mean, we've hit a lot of different... Vegetarian, yep. We've hit a lot of different areas to kind of give people a variety, and like slow cooker versus in the oven, on the stove, things that are fast, things maybe take a little more effort and have a little bit more flavor and steps to it. So it's really about finding variety. Also, I look for things I know are going to keep well. I've cooked long enough, grew up in a family that cooked a lot, to know what things keep as leftovers and what don't. So there's certain things that I see on recipes, I'm like, that's probably not going to last throughout the week if we package it up and try to reheat it. And then from there, I really just look for how we can tweak things and then how to kind of get the recipe set up correctly. Usually it takes 2 times to make it because I'm not great at measuring spices. So
you're on 2?
Yeah, at least 2.
Okay,
at least 2. To get it to where I can put it as a recipe online, because like I said, I'm kind of like, let's throw this in and this in, and then the second time through is like, okay, let's actually measure it and see how much we put in. So yeah, that's kind of
then it doesn't always come out like, this tastes nothing like it did before when I actually measured everything.
That was just the Moroccan chicken.
And then we get what?
We've had
Sorry,
about 3
that
times
one's really funny because I did the season the first time and we loved it, and then we followed the recipe every time after that, and it's like just not the same. Which means I did something weird the first time.
And now we got to figure out what it is.
And I got to find out what I did to make it weird, and I don't know how I'm going to do that. So, yeah, we'll figure that one out.
Yeah. So with the meal prep with you, I mean, you kind of brought the idea to me when we kind of first started it. I mean, I have a little bit more background in nutrition and balancing meals out, as far as looking at how much vegetable to protein to carb ratio and, like, what quality. But it's really kind of started as a personal journey just for you and me in general. And we kind of took it and then put the recipes up to share with other people because we know it would probably resonate with people out there. So why was it important to you?
Well, the big thing for me, and it's totally understandable as a single person working way too many hours. I mean, I lived in the fast food lane. I mean, that's just what I did. And if I didn't, I was like, ooh, I ate at home. I cooked macaroni and cheese out of a box. It was great. So I was obviously having some medical things as I got older. I mean, I may have been very active and able to burn that stuff off. But after a while, I mean, my body can only change the stuff that I put in it. And so if I'm constantly putting crap in it, what is my body making with that? Mm-hmm. So it became kind of a thing for me that I needed to focus on my diet a little bit more. But being somebody that had been running like that for most of their life, and even in high school where, I mean, I was doing so many different sports, I didn't take time to learn how to cook a whole lot. I was better than a lot of guys I know, but I wasn't good enough to really do what we're going to do meal prep. So, I mean, I asked you to kind of get into it a little bit because I wanted to, and you just were like, yeah. Mm-hmm. And so from there, to me, it's become almost an obsession of like, how few meals can I have to worry about? Can I make it to where it's like every single meal is like set up and ready to go? All I got to do is grab a box and throw it in. Yeah. Can we have 4 or 5 different, or 3 or 4 different options? And I mean, it's like, now I don't feel like chicken. Ooh, ground beef, and throw that in. And just have those options sitting there ready to go. If that's something that we have that makes us feel good and what we're seeing as a good thing for our body, we're just giving it to the world to be able to help themselves out if they want. Mm-hmm. I fully imagine that not everybody's going to love every recipe. I mean, they're going to have certain ones that just don't feel that they don't like the taste of. Yeah. We have ones that even some of them that we put on there were just like, not my flavor, but I can understand why people would like it, and it kept well and it did fine.
Yeah. Or it was like, it was good. It was solid, but not a top 10.
Exactly. And then we have ones that we absolutely love.
Mm-hmm. Looking at you, pepper steak and noodle.
Oh, you doing that one?
Yeah.
Yeah, that one's good. Lone Star was really good, too. Of course, Michelle's roasts are to die for, though. So, I mean, it's kind of hard to judge. I mean, almost every roast we've ever had with her are just phenomenal.
Yeah.
Get a chance to buy some of those. All right, so let's see here. We're going to go into... This one's going to be interesting, I think. I want to see how you react to this one. Why are we promoting athletics and not necessarily just working out? I think you see in most of these kind of setups that it's almost like you'd expect like the ellipticals to be in the background almost. Mm-hmm. So why are we doing athletics and not just promoting working out? I mean, we work out, but it's a different scenario.
I mean, I think for me, we have such a big hand in coaching that being part of athletics and what exercises do well for athletes just is kind of second nature. There's so many times after practice that you and I stay back and hit and do circuits that we have the girls do. And for those who don't know, we started with softball and have done a little bit of volleyball, and I have a background in basketball and you in soccer, so I mean we've hit several sports. So I think it's easy to do those. I think both of us being athletes, that world just feels really comfortable anyway and feels more fun as far as working out goes. Trying to think of...
Well, you got to keep in mind, I mean, in everything we do, we work in our workouts. I mean, we structure all our practices with workouts in them. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, we're doing push-ups, and we're doing pull-ups, and we're doing leg lifts, and all the other different crazy ones you can do, shoulder touches and all that kind of stuff. We're trying to find ways to work those in.
Yeah.
So I think the big one I was looking for on that one, and I know you feel this way, but I'm going to help you with the words on it, and that is the athletics allows you to give something you're striving for to keep you in a healthy athletic form to be able to keep yourself as a healthy individual.
Yeah. And, once an athlete, I feel like you're always an athlete.
I think everybody's
that
athletic.
Mindset never really goes away, and whether you're an athlete from a kid or you started being an athlete later in life, I mean, anytime that you're active, like that it's a different mindset than I'm just going to go to the gym and get a 30-minute workout and that I don't like and go home. I mean, there's so many other things that you can do. I mean, we did a whole multi-sport circuit, and that was so much fun, and I was dying by the end of it, exhausted, and so much core work, so much cardio. But it was fun. It wasn't just, I'm going to go run on the treadmill for 30 minutes.
Yeah, but that one ended up covering almost our entire body. I mean, we were working out every piece and different facets and moving and mobility. I think the biggest one that bothers me is when you talk about, we are athletes. We used to do sports. And people are like, well, I'm not athletic, and I never was. And it's like, no, you are. We just got to find the right thing for you. I mean, everybody's different. They're better at certain things. Some people are just great at running. Some people are just great at sitting. If that's what you want to be good at, but we can still do stuff around that. It's just the whole thing I like on athletics in particular and doing sports, you're bad at something at it. You got to get better somewhere. So learning to basically embrace the fact that you're not good at it is the whole idea for me behind sports. It's more of a mental thing than anything. I'm just going to try it. I'm just going to put myself out there. I'm just going to do. And the whole thing that we have on practices and training and all that stuff is to get where we might be good.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, definitely. Well, under the athletic branch, the thing that I'm most curious about is kind of how you got into coaching, because coaching is a big part of the athletics that we do. I mean, we do have sport teams in there, and how it resonated with you, because, I mean, being an athlete is one thing, but coaching is a whole different side, and people think that you can just transition into that super easy, but it's not. It's a whole different skill.
Yeah. I mean, mine actually started way younger than anybody ever thought. I mean, that and the fact that when I was in high school, I was almost more of an extension of the coach. There's only one sport I was really amazing at, and that was soccer. But even then, I didn't have your traditional skills. Those I was really bad at. So I mean, like your juggling and all that fancy stuff you see like they do, I can't do that. Couldn't do it. Never was able to do it. I was bad at that forever. But as far as making sure we're in the right strategic position and the athleticism I had, and I had a big leg and I could control it. So I mean, those really help in soccer. But like baseball and even basketball and even any of the other sports, I was horrible. I didn't have any depth perception, and I was so fast and had so much speed and agility, it was just out of control. But what I did do is I just immersed myself in what it took to be better. So I was I was paying attention to other coaches. I was paying attention to, and I was surrounded by a lot of coaches. Most of my dad's friends were coaches in local high schools and stuff like that.
Well, even your dad coached.
He did, but those guys were doing that. He just did it at nights and summers and stuff like that. I mean, later in his career he did. But those guys were high school coaches for 25, 30 years. And those guys just lived and breathed fundamentals. They understood that you had to have the proper form. They understood you had to be able to practice and work and all the work ethic and everything that went involved in that. And so just hearing them guys talk, and you could just see... You could see in their eyes, you could see in their shoulders, you could see when they talked about kids that, worked hard and tried to go through, and you could tell they changed things. You could see kids that would later on just, Coach Dave and whatever, and they just resonated back. They were making changes. I look at how they changed my life and got me into being able to coach and show people how to do things without the expectation of that it's going to be perfect. I mean, we got plenty of kids that we coach that, I don't expect them to be amazing. I just try to tweak one thing and you just see the show. Oh, I didn't do it right again. It's not about that. You got to try to be better. And some of them come around and some of them don't. And you just got to work, try to be a leader and to hope that you can make a positive impact on their life. And that's where I come from coaching.
Usually the best coaches do. I mean, you have to meet the girls where they're at. And it's not going to be the same for every girl on the team.
Yep.
So coaches that really struggle with that have a hard time lasting in that field. And when you're really good, sometimes that's hard to transition into that role.
Yep. So why is it that you coach?
So,
what is it that drives you in your coaching?
What drives me? Well, I love coaching in general just because every time I'm out there, it doesn't matter how bad the day is. Like, I just feel like I'm in my happy place out there helping players evolve and do better, and just it's rewarding in that sense. But I started coaching at a young age too. When I was in middle school, I transitioned to competitive softball, and the first team I played on, I didn't get to play a lot because it's a big move, and ended up having to move up an age group when the rest of my team didn't the following year. And my mom actually put together a travel team for me. And with that, she played and she made me learn how to right lineups, put people in positions that were the best for the team, and look at how to play every position, and all that aspect of the game that you don't get when you're on the player side. And so, I mean, from a young age, I was expected to know how everything worked. When I got to high school after my sophomore year, I quit basketball and I ended up coaching for community service hours. And I had no idea what I was doing, and I absolutely loved it. And it was actually probably, coaching basketball versus softball to start out with was kind of a different dynamic than I would think I would normally go. But I just fell in love with it. And, every summer in between college, I'd come back and I would coach some. And then when I got asked to coach here, and I've coached the last 6 years, it started with my niece's team. And I don't know. It makes me the happiest of everything I do.
I thought ultimately you were going to say so you could show up the umpires, but sure. I mean, if you want to go with like an actual drive, that's fine.
I mean, it's always nice when you know more than the umpires, but they don't like it very well, so I don't get very far if I do that.
Yeah. Yeah, I do understand that one.
Yeah. So.
Okay, I don't know if we're covering everything here, it doesn't matter, but what is it that you see that maybe we're not doing at KNeticx that we need to pull in to something that we're not currently working on?
Ooh. Well, I mean, just based on the facility we're in right now.
Oh, you don't have to limit yourself by that. Go big.
I know, that's what I'm saying is we don't have anything here right now for it because of the facility we're in.
Mm-hmm.
I would love to get to a facility where we can do more training camps for kids than what we do. I mean, we've done a little bit of hitting, but coaching just a few teams is tough because you hit helping a few players, but you're limited on how many you can help. Mm-hmm. So to be able to help not only other players, but even bring in other coaches and train other coaches and stuff would be awesome. But we have to have kind of the right setup for that. But I would love that.
Yep.
Yeah. How about you?
Oh, I mean, I can't wait to bring in some of the mental pieces that we're working on, some of the lifestyle pieces that we're working on.
Ooh, the health app. That would be a good one.
Yeah, we're working on all that kind of stuff and all that development.
Yeah.
I mean, but all those we can't. We can't even point to right now because even though we do it, getting them developed and brought into existence. I mean, just like this podcast, we've been talking about this for 8 months now. Mm-hmm. I mean, so we kind of knew, and just getting everything set up between the stupid microphone, the stupid camera, and all the other things we got. I mean, it takes time, it takes effort to get everything done, and then you get, then you get all the advertising, just everything. It takes a lot.
It does.
So
and a lot of time because you can be out there and it takes a while to find your people. Mm-hmm. Like we are not going to resonate with everybody, and that's okay. I'm totally okay with that. Finding the right people that are fit with what we think is important, which is people who are athletic, giving them the resources to be wholly healthy, and that's not going to be everybody's cup of tea, and that's okay. But it takes a while to find those people, and so it's one of those that's easy to get frustrated with it. But
same thing on the sports side. I mean, you get parents and kids that just want to be the best, and no matter what happens with the rest of the team, they have to be the best. Mm-hmm. And it's like, no, we are looking for people who want to develop themselves into being better. True. You're never the best. There's always somebody better. Mm-hmm. I mean, unless you literally are the best. But if you're the best, you're not going to be dealing with me.
Yeah. Or the teams that just want to put a couple players in certain positions so that they can get a win because they don't care about anything else. Mm-hmm. Or the ones who just want to play rec and don't care about getting better at all. I mean, those are hard to coach as well for what we're looking for because, I mean, it's one thing to play rec, and that's all great. I mean, we both started coaching at rec, and I love rec ball. But you get some players who just don't even want to try, and it's like, makes it hard to help them and have them help the team.
Well, it's funny you say when you started. I got a feeling me and you will probably always kind of, in a way, have a thumb, a finger, or whatever in rec because that's where the fun happens. I mean, those are the ones where you got to coach from the very beginning. Mm-hmm. Here's your stance. Here's how you set up. Here's where you put your elbow. I mean, everything. It's from the very basics, it's the foundational level.
Yeah. And honestly, that makes it the hardest to coach, and it's most underserved because nobody wants to go coach it because it's so hard, and they want to coach the teams that travel all over the place and get the wins. And
Well, you don't know how to teach somebody how to hip turn. You don't know how to teach somebody, how to get in a defensive position. I mean, that you just did it. You've done it forever. You know how to need to coach that.
Yeah.
It's really hard to kind of check yourself of what you know compared to what you got to coach.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
You got anything else big on your list for right now?
Not really.
We covered everything, huh?
For right now.
For right now?
For right now.
Okay.
We're going to have so many more podcasts to
Yeah,
go
no
over
kidding.
so many more topics.
No.
And luckily, it's not just us because we'll bring other people in who are better at certain topics than we are.
No kidding, yes. We're definitely, we're expecting to bring in some guests that we have that, we'll talk way more in depth of the stuff that we use and the stuff we're using and the stuff we're developing and all that crap. But we're also going to bring in some educational, but, and instructional videos and stuff like that. But for now, I mean, please, send us in your questions, send us in whatever you'd like to talk about. I mean, we got plenty more on the horizon of topics we're going to hit, so whatever more you can do, that would be great. We're looking to answer whatever we can.
Yep.
So you don't have anything else?
Nope.
I don't either, so we'll call this our first podcast. Probably going to be another recording after this.
Thank you for watching. Kate and Nevada hope you've enjoyed this show and found it useful and empowering. If you have any questions or comments, please contact them at KNeticx.com. That's KNeticx.com. They're on Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok as well. And please write a review of the show. Kate and Nevada appreciate hearing the feedback, and they welcome your reviews, and your word of mouth will help others learn how to feel better and be better.